Hello, 8 Green students. Today I am going to walk you through the triangle trade routes. And if you were here in class today, we would be diagramming these together. So unfortunately, those of you who are working at home, you're just going to have to kind of walk through this on your own. I would encourage you to find a blank piece of paper, whether that's notebook paper or blank typing paper, and diagram these out. I think just by replicating what you see on the screen, it will help you when it comes time for the test. So when we talk about triangle trade routes, we are looking at trade between 3 locations. That's why it's called a triangle. And so I'm going to share with you 3 different trade routes, and there were dozens of different trade routes that would have happened during this time. But again, I'm just going to walk you through 3 of those. The first one is a legal trade route. Okay, and what makes it legal is England, or the mother country, is involved in the trade route. So you can pick any point on the trade route, and so we'll just start with England, the mother country, and you'll notice that the arrow flows this way. You look at direction of travel because of the arrowhead. And what England would send to the colonies were manufactured goods, things like tools, weapons, clothes, furniture, anything that had to be made or manufactured. So all that stuff is being sent to the 13 colonies. Once they get to the port cities, they would unload those manufactured goods, and the merchant shippers would then load up with beans and cod. Cod is a type of fish, very plentiful from the New England area, and they would send the beans and cod down to the West Indies. This is what we think of as the Caribbean islands today. They referred to it as the West Indies back then. The beans and cod would be sent to the West Indies to the sugar plantations and used to feed the slaves on the sugar plantations. From there, the triangle trade shippers would then load up their cargo with sugar and molasses coming out of the sugarcane plantations. You obviously know what sugar is. Molasses is this thick brown syrup that is a byproduct of the sugarcane harvest, and that would be sent to England. Of course, everybody loved sugar. As the video clip told us the other day, you know, the average adult eats about 50% of their body weight in sugar every year. The molasses was used to make something called rum. Rum is an alcoholic beverage that everybody loved back then as well. And then the route would just continue on again. Manufactured goods, drop those off, pick up beans and cod, take them down to feed the enslaved Africans working the sugarcane plantation, load up with sugar and molasses, send that back to the mother country. Okay, so that's one legal trade route. Now you'll notice that Africa was not involved in this trade route. It's going to be involved in the next one that I show you. This is also a legal trade route because, again, England is involved. The direction of travel flows a little bit differently this time. Well, again, we'll start in England, the mother country, and direction of travel goes then to West Africa, where they took manufactured goods again. Things like tools and weapons, jewelry, clothes, things like that. Weapons were the big ones. People in the tribal leaders in West Africa wanted English-made muskets. So they would send those to West Africa. They would then trade those for kidnapped and enslaved Africans. So African tribes would kidnap rivals, Africans from other rival tribes, trade those to the Europeans and for rifles and jewelry and tools and things like that. So the slaves, along with gold and pepper, which were plentiful in West Africa, slaves, gold, and pepper would travel over to the 13 colonies, and this is what we call the Middle Passage. Okay, so that term Middle Passage is the leg of the trade route going from Africa to the colonies with enslaved Africans loaded in the 'tween decks down in the belly of the ship. They would drop off the slaves and gold and pepper, and then they would pick up raw materials. Raw materials are anything that's made in nature, you know, a crop or something that's grown or harvested from the ground. So things like they would have picked up some sugar along the way from the West Indies, cotton, tobacco, indigo, iron, lumber, fur, fish, corn, wheat, if needed. Okay, so all those raw materials would then head back to England. Remember, England's a tiny nation. Even though it's very powerful and very wealthy, it does not have all of the raw material resources that the New World had. And then the process just would work its way again. Manufactured goods to Africa, slaves, gold and pepper. They might make a stop in the West Indies, drop off some of the slaves, gold and pepper, pick up some sugar, but then make their way to the colonies, pick up more raw materials, and take those back to England. And again, England is benefiting. This is called mercantilism. Any kind of trade that is designed to benefit the mother country by establishing colonies, that's called mercantilism. All right, now we're going to get down to an illegal trade route. And what makes this illegal is the fact that England is not involved. You'll notice that none of the three arrows go to the mother country. So England's being cut out of this, and that is considered illegal. It's not because of what is being traded, it's because of how it's being traded. And there was a lot of money to be made by these smugglers. And so smugglers would ship rum and iron straight over to Africa. Then they would pick up slaves, gold and pepper like they did before. Take that's again the Middle Passage. Take slaves, gold and pepper to the West Indies, pick up some sugar and molasses, take that to the colonies. The colonies also wanted sugar and molasses to make rum. Again, then they would pick up some raw materials, specifically rum that they had created from the molasses, and then iron. The colonies were very heavy in iron ore deposits, and although there wasn't a lot of manufacturing in the colonies, they could ship that iron ore over to Africa, and then the leaders over there could use that iron for making tools and weapons and whatever they needed from that. So again, it's not a matter of what's being traded that makes it illegal. It's the fact that England is in no way benefiting from this trade. You'll notice they are cut out of this, so that makes it illegal. These folks were called smugglers. If smugglers were stopped by British customs officials and it was found that they were smuggling, they didn't have a manifest that indicated they were heading to or from England, then their cargo could be confiscated, their ships could be confiscated, they might be thrown in jail. So smuggling was a risky business, but it was a very profitable business. So what you'll need to know from all of this is what traveled on each leg of a triangle trade route. So when I assess you on this, I might give you this map with these three arrows on it, but then the arrows would not have any products listed on it. And I might label these leg 1, leg 2, and leg 3. And then I would ask you, what items would be most likely on leg 1? And if I'd labeled this leg 1, you would answer tools, weapons, clothes, any type of manufactured goods. If I labeled this leg 2 of the route, you would have to indicate that that's beans and cod, because coming from the colonies to the West Indies, they were sending food down there to feed the slaves. And then from the West Indies would be sugar and molasses. And if you look, anytime a triangle trade route leaves the West Indies, it has sugar and molasses on it. Okay, so we see this here, and then we also see it here going from the West Indies to the colonies, sugar and molasses. Anytime you see a trade route leaving Africa, it's slaves, gold, and pepper. So you see it here, and you also see it down here. Anytime you see something leaving England, it's manufactured goods. You see it here, and you also see it here going from England to Africa. So regardless of which way the arrow goes, the same products typically left England, Africa, and the West Indies. What changes on every single trade route is what is leaving the colonies. The colonies had an abundance of so many different products. So in this trade route, it's beans and cod. In this trade route, it's cotton, tobacco, indigo, iron, lumber, fur, corn, things like that. And then from this trade route, it's rum and iron. So again, the colonies were so plentiful in what they had to offer that they sent all kinds of things to all parts of the world. All right, again, if you are at home learning this virtually, I would encourage you to take a piece of notebook paper out and just copy down what you see on the screen here. And again, do that on notebook paper or copy paper, something like that. But that way you have it to use as a resource. You never know when a quiz or a test is going to be open note or open resource. And what that might be is I allow anything that you have created to be used on the test, not necessarily something that I have created. So again, those of you at home, I would strongly encourage you to copy down what I have on this PDF screencast. Have a wonderful day.